Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you saw the thumbnail for this video, you already know that this is the second episode of my brand new series, which I'm calling Spreads, Spreads, and More Spreads, at least for now. And so in this series, I'm going to do a weekly dive into a spread, one that I've created or one that I've encountered and I want to play with a little bit, play with along with you. And so last week I did my first episode. In that episode, I looked at the spread that I use for my weekly reading, investigating how we live the intentional life. This week, I'm going to look at the spread that I developed before the spread I'm using currently. And both of these spreads are inspired by cards from the Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Payne-Towler. And if you're interested in that deck, I will have a link below so you can check out that deck and perhaps purchase it on your own. This one, the spread today, last week's spread was based on the Ace of Discs from that deck. And I just lost the card off of my knee, but this week the spread is based off of the Ace of Swords. And the way this came about, the way these two came about actually, was the creator of the deck, Christine Payne-Towler, suggested that maybe the Ace of Swords could be an inspiration for a spread for me. And I thought, that's an interesting idea. I've never thought of that. So I pulled out the Ace of Swords and I meditated on it, and a spread appeared to me through the card. And so, let me show you that card right now. Here it is. While you were looking at the color version, I retrieved my black and white version. So this is the card that you just saw in color in black and white. And what I'm going to do is I am going to turn the camera down, I will explain the spread, and then I'll do a reading using this spread. Let's dive in together. Hello friends, we're back. And this is the original sized card in black and white. And this is my enlarged copy of the black and white card so that we can look at it together. And what we can see here in this Ace of Swords card from the Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Payne-Towler is there is a central sword, right? And there are celestial lights all not gathered together so much as interconnected. And we see the sun on one side, we see the moon on the other, and they're all connected to this one central eye. Except for the sun and the moon, each of the celestial lights has an eye. So that's that divine eye peering through or peering as the celestial lights. And what do I mean when I say celestial lights? Maybe that's something you're not familiar with. In that case, when we say the celestial lights, we mean the 7 classical planets of astrology. Now, for those planets, they're not all planets. One is the sun, one is the moon, right? The others are Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, the 7 celestial lights. And so here we have the 7 lights with eyes peering through them for everything except for the sun and the moon, which have full faces. And for me, the pairs on the sides for me, now there are other ways of reading that, but for me, again, I emphasize for me, I see the pairings as being Venus and Mars. That's pretty common. And then the other pairing for me is Jupiter and Mercury. So this one for me would be Saturn, the cutting one, the one of borders and boundaries and piercing and a little bit of harshness, right? And then we've got this 2-headed bird, which could be a phoenix. And then we've got this dragon here. Now the dragon, I didn't really see a place for specifically. When I see this card, what I saw as elements for a spread were the sword, the two pairings of planets, yeah, the solar side and the lunar side, and then this two-headed bird, yeah, the two heads which form one creature. So what I decided to do, or what I see in this card, is we have a central line of cards, and I chose 3, which represent the cutting through, the piercing through of the clouds, the new view, the new idea, the fresh view, the clear view. And then on either side, we have the sun, which for me, these planets would be the conscious side of the spread. The moon would be the unconscious or the watery side of the spread. And then for these two heads of the birds, I thought, well, these could be a paired advice, a set of advice cards. So what I do is I draw 3 cards from one deck. The Tarot of the Holy Light is what I've used for this central set of cards. And then from a different tarot deck, I drew 3 cards for the sun. From yet another tarot deck, I drew 3 cards for the moon, for the intuition, for the unconscious. And then from 1 or 2 oracle decks, I would draw 2 cards giving us advice on either side of the sword. So we have 3, 3, 3, 2 in the center. And so this spread for me, the one that I did last week is for a general reading for how things are manifesting, how things are working for me in the world. And we have the conscious area and then the day-to-day earthy area. For me, this is the fresh perspective spread, also general, but the fresh perspective spread for us. So we've got the fresh perspective, we've got the conscious realm, the unconscious realm, and how they balance out, and then what to do, what the advice is, right? So for this demonstration, instead of drawing in 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 different decks, I'm going to do it with just one deck so that you can see how this spread could also work for one deck. And if you wanted to do it with 2 decks, 3 decks, 5 decks, that's your choice. So the deck I chose this time because we can fit 3 cards of a standard tarot deck in this space. I chose the CS Tarot by Conrad Styne, which you can get on Make Playing Cards. And I'll put a link to that below as well. This is the one with the amber crackleback. And it comes with 2 extra cards here of Pamela Coleman Smith's art. So this is a redrawing and recoloring of Pamela Coleman Smith's deck, which she created in conjunction with Arthur Waite. So this is the back, and this is a standard Make Playing Cards and US Games sized deck. This one is gilt, but I think you can get it without gilding, just so you know. This gilding's pretty, but it does flake just a little bit, but you know, it's pretty. I like it. So, and I love Conrad Styne's work. So I highly recommend this deck. And so what is the question we're going to use as I demonstrate this? Last week I talked about, I asked a question about my spiritual growth, my spiritual development, as I'd begun working or studying what is called A Course in Miracles. Still doing that. So perhaps I want to ask a general question here as well about perspective. What is a new perspective that would be helpful for me? That makes sense, right? So that's what we're going to do. What is a new perspective that would be helpful for me? And you get to be either patient with my shuffle or you can skip ahead. It's your choice. But I'm going to shuffle. What is a perspective that would be patient for me? That would be that would be beneficial for me. What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? This deck shuffles beautifully, by the way. The cardstock is thick enough to feel substantial. flexible enough to be easy to use. The gilding doesn't bother my thumbs very much. What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? And you'll see the coloration of these cards is stunning. It's absolutely stunning. What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? You can see with the coating on this deck, even as clumsy a person as I can overhand shuffle this deck. And you probably already know that I am a born riffle shuffler. What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? Can you see the gilding that is jumping off the cards here? Maybe you can't. I can. But, you know, it's pretty. We suffer for pretty, right? And those little flecks of gold do not really make me suffer. What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? Okay, so we're ready to lay it out. Cut the cards. What is a new perspective that would be beneficial for me? One of my favorite cards. What is a new perspective that would be... Oh. So this is the sword, right? The piercing. And you can see all of those cards, right? Yes. Okay. So this is the way I lay it out. I go with the sword in the center, and then I go up with the sun. Ooh. So my conscious realm I want to leave a little bit more room for the advice. That's interesting. Okay. My unconscious realm. Go out as far as I can here, I guess. Again, we want to have room for that advice, those advice cards. Okay, this is interesting, very interesting, and I'll tell you why it's interesting in just a moment. And then the advice. Okay, so I did not leave enough room here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so this is the spread, and let me separate these out just a little bit better so that you get more of an idea of the groupings here, right? Okay, do that, do that. How does that look for you? Okay, so that makes sense, doesn't it? Let me bring this ace down so you can see it better. Bring this down so you can see it better. This down so you can, there we go. And bring justice down so you can see it better. And the 6 of wands and another one of my favorite cards. Now, aren't the backings of this deck just amazing, stunning, beautiful? I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so this is what we've got. So let's see, how do I read this? Now remember, these two are advice, so I'll read these two last. Let's start with the central sword, right? So we begin with the idea of patience, watching, waiting for things to grow. Now, not rushing the harvest, but also paying attention to it. We want to pay attention to what's happening because there might want to be some pruning that could be beneficial. Now, the Five of Swords is often, we usually think of this as a very negative card, right? Winning at what cost? You've done the battle, but look at these people off in the background who have been defeated, and especially this guy here does not look very happy. We've caused harm, maybe. Or we could be these people and somebody else has beaten us. So now notice the what do I want to say? The mirroring here of this posture and this posture. So perhaps the way I want to look at this is there will be moments when we feel like we have been defeated, when we feel like we have lost the battle, that maybe we've taken on the role of victim, and we've placed the blame on the big old giant in our conscious sphere, in our conscious view. We've put all the blame there. But perhaps, and we see ourselves as small. There are times when that happens, right? But we can recognize that there is generosity in the universe. We are constantly receiving. We are constantly receiving, not necessarily only from the big guys here who are doling out pittance, but we're constantly receiving from the universe. And if we notice the justice scale here and here, right? So maybe we can look at this figure here not as a rich dude, but rather as the universe who is always constantly doling out things, because this is an abundant universe. And we want to be patient. We want to be patient and allow what we have to grow, rather than focusing on what we see right now as a defeat, as being knocked down, as being conquered by the malevolent giant in our view. Now, so the perspective here that I'm seeing is, yes, there are times when we feel defeated and we make our conqueror a giant, but still we can remember that the universe is constantly, the divine is constantly offering us, giving us, and all we need to do is open our hands to receive. And we can also remember that the things that we have are still growing, are still developing, and maybe it wasn't time for us to stand up. Maybe we really want to wait and be patient, and when things have ripened, when it's harvest time, then we can take the harvest and we can do the things. We can reap the benefits. Now, I just read that cetera and I skipped over something that I usually do quietly for myself. And what is that? I'm counting cards. Look at what is present and what might be absent. So we've got 1, 2, 3 pentacles for a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We've got 3 pentacles. We've got 2 wands. We've got 1 sword and 1 cup. So we're not really missing any of the elements, right? It's heavy on the pentacles and a little bit on the wands, but we've got swords and cups here. We've got a person figure here. We've got 1, 2, 3 major arcana. So this spread is fairly balanced for my book. So yes, that's where we're starting off from. We might feel like we've been defeated, but There are other things, places we can place our attention rather than the giant who seems to have defeated us. So let's move into the conscious sphere. Yeah? So notice how I started here with the central card. I'm going to move over here to the central card as the beginning, the entry, the portal. That's the word I wanted. The portal to this set of cards. So yeah, we felt defeated, but we can still place our attention on. We haven't disappeared from the universe. We still have ground that we're standing on, and we can still stand up for who we are and what we want to be, what we want to do, our passions, our desires. We can stand up for those. And as we stand up for those, we have things supporting us, yeah? There are opportunities that the divine is giving us, yeah? We see the divine giving us material, but also opportunities here. So we want to remember that as we stand up for ourselves. We also want to stand up for ourselves and know that we can move off of this ledge and take a leap into the unknown. And that could be of benefit for us as well. Instead of standing here fighting or putting so much of our attention on fighting down these things, which are probably from our unconscious. I read the Seven of Wands as in two ways. They could be the wands of other people trying to knock us off of our perch, but they could be the wands of a conflict coming up from below within us, from our own unconscious, from our own preconscious, from our own insecurities, from our own feelings of unworthiness or feelings of being an imposter. And when we realize we still have ground to stand on, we might have those things. Well, you lost, and you're not that good, and you're not that smart, and there are other things that are beating at us, are trying to knock us off of where we're standing. And their passions, maybe, or their conflict, struggle within. And from this place, we can realize that still we have opportunities being offered to us, and we have the opportunity to take a leap into a new path, onto a new adventure beyond the struggle that we have encountered. So what's going on in the unconscious? In the unconscious, we feel like we've been defeated. We feel like we're holding our own ground, perhaps within ourselves, and unconsciously, the depth of us knows that we are the victors. Even though intellectually we think that we have been defeated, our unconscious knows that we are the victors. And perhaps we're mistaking these wands from below as being things which are trying to knock us off of our perch, when they're actually supporting us, rooting for us, rooting with us, and we want to have a different perspective. So how do we get that perspective? Well, like we have the idea of the fool taking the leap, we have hope. Our unconscious realm is full of hope and healing from the battle. It's also full of balance and justice. The justice of the universe, which is, okay, so you've been knocked down, and kind of like the Wheel of Fortune might have been taken this place as well. We've got the idea of the universe, from what seems to have been taken from us, will be giving it and more to us in the future, or even in the ever present, in the eternal present. So do you see how that has flown, how that has flowed? from this card as the experience that has been disrupted or is disrupted, and is the sword in this sword spread, right? How there is potential, there's opportunity, and there are resources flowing in, and we want to have patience. That's the idea. And in our conscious realm, we want to notice when we feel like we're beating down the wands which are coming up from below us, and recognize that there are opportunities available to us always from the divine, and that we can take the leap into the unknown and onto a new adventure. We don't have to stay here defending our position forever, because unconsciously this sense of defense might actually be us in our triumphal march. And what we are afraid of as being attacking wands are actually celebratory wands from below. So we have our hope, and we recognize that there is justice, that we have the potential to get benefit from. And so what is the advice? The advice is these two cards. Now, so is the deck saying to be greedy? I don't think so. Especially from this as the center, we're not being, the advice is not to be greedy, but to maintain what we have, right? To maintain the things that we've got, to maintain the realm that we still are standing on, in. Maintain what we've got and find emotional balance. In the choppy water here, you see the water's a little choppy here, and it's a little choppier here. But we maintain what we have and regain our emotional balance is the advice for us when we've encountered this sense of defeat. And the reason that this is helpful is because of all of this stuff that is around it, that we have opportunities, that we can take the leap, that we are rooting for ourselves from within if we will only acknowledge it, that there is hope available to us from within, that there is justice available to us in the universe, and our unconscious knows that every little defeat that we experience is going to be repaid threefold by the universe. If we allow it ourselves to experience that, to receive that, as we live intentional lives. So this is the way I would read this kind of large spread for a general question of what's a new perspective. That's the new perspective. Defeats are not defeats, even though we feel like them. We still got ground to stand on, and that ground is actually triumphal in our unconscious realm. And there's support from all areas of the universe. So we just want to keep our stability, not freak out, not turn around and fight back necessarily, but rather find our emotional balance as we wait for the opportunities for our hands to open to receive from the universe, and for the seeds that we've planted to grow. So there it is. What do you think, friends? What do you think of this spread? I'd love to hear what you thought of this reading. I'd love to hear if you tried this spread on your own. Let us know. What do you think? Give it a try. One way to develop our reading skills, I believe, is by playing with different kinds of spreads and experimenting and seeing how cards speak to each other. Like I saw how these two cards may be speaking to each other. Like how I saw how the scale is speaking to the scale here. Yeah, how this figure is speaking to the posture of this figure here. Yeah, we could see where elements seem to be reflecting off of each other, echoing each other. Some people might say rhyming from the Tarot de Marseille communities. So let me know what you think. And if you are a new person here, if you've not subscribed to my channel yet, subscribe and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm trying for 3 a week, at least for a while. I don't know how well I'll be able to do that, but That's the plan. So get notifications of when I upload videos and comment below. I would really love to hear from you. And hit the thumbs up button too if you got something from this, so that YouTube knows that you and other people might enjoy it. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.